I couldn't do Barbenheimer, but I kinda did Turtleheimer. The two movies I saw most recently were uh, Oppenheimer and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. So this is going to be kind of a double feature review. I'll try to keep it at least around 10 to 15 minutes. I got told last time I rambled on too long, and I didn't really say that a whole lot really in that review anyway. I'll start with Oppenheimer. Despite the fact that it's clearly the longer movie, it's clear. Sorry about the light back there. It's clearly the longer movie. It's clearly got a lot more historical significance, a lot more heavy issues about his his past with the Communist Party, whether or not we should have even built the bomb in the first place, his ties to several of the process of having to make the nuclear bomb in the atomic bomb in the first place, and all the little problems he ran into along the way, and it also like his personal life. Despite it all having that stuff crammed into this, well, crammed. It's all got. It's all covered in a decent amount of time. It's 3 hours, so everything kind of has room to breathe. But despite all that, I think I have a little bit less to say about Oppenheimer than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. I'm sorry, but I'm a dumb pop culture nerd. So if you wanna get mad at me about that, you can blame the American education system, because the most I ever learned about Oppenheimer was from the epic rap battles of history video. So that's how I learned about the guy who created the atomic bomb. Sorry, guys. So yeah, obviously Oppenheimer is a great movie. Christopher Nolan, unless you just don't think he's overrated. Outside of Tenet, I don't think he's really made a movie people have problems with. I generally like every Christopher Nolan movie I've seen. I've of course seen Memento. I've seen Inception. I saw a bit of Prestige. I saw it in film class, and then I got sick the second day we would have finished the movie. But I did call the ending, so I guess I didn't miss that much. And also I saw the Dark Knight stuff and Interstellar. I really like Christopher Nolan stuff. He's got a distinct style that isn't normally, depending on the movie, it's not normally like very in your face like a lot of like Zack Snyder's is. Even though Zack Snyder has a lot of good visual direction in his movies, his style can be very in your face. Same with James Gunn, but it's not wrong to have a distinct style with your movies, and I like Christopher Nolan's style. So obviously, probably what works best about these movies is the visual direction in them. And just how he plans everything out, like the first atomic bomb test is probably the best scene in the whole movie. I mean, it is the best scene in the whole movie, in my opinion. That I should probably preface this, unlike other film critics. I am acknowledging this is all subjectively my opinion, but it's just a long period of silence as we see the bomb, like the explosion go off, and then after 3 minutes of watching it, we finally get the sound of the impact going off. Very powerful stuff. But also they're just shots of the universe, shots of the stars in the night. Since this movie has a lot more stuff dealing with it's a lot more of a conversation and dialogue based movie than you'd think it'd be. It's I mean, the movie covers a lot, but as I said before, but it's kind of more about the build-up and the fallout of the creation of the atomic bomb. So I'm sorry. So really interesting. So really, outside of good visual directions, the thing that helps this kind of movie is the acting. I mean, a good script, of course, but the acting helps a good script, and really good performances. Really good performances. The cast is loaded. It's got a lot of people who you wouldn't normally imagine in like these kind of movies. Like Josh Peck is in this. The guy who played Roderick in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies is in this. I mean, you'll have Jack Quaid. Jack Quaid shows up in kind of anything. But yeah, Robert Downey Jr. first kind of very serious role since he gave up on not gave up, but since he left the MCU. I know there were these two guys that kind of got some heat because they were talking about how they like the MCU movies more, the Iron Man movies over Oppenheimer, and I'm a big defender of the MCU, and I will absolutely not take anything away from Robert Downey Jr. for playing Iron Man. That is clearly it's a really good performance, but again, just like expanding your horizons and seeing all kinds of different movies. It's just great to see Robert Downey Jr. do something that's not Iron Man again. It was really nice to see him do Sherlock Holmes back a decade back, but now it's like you remember, oh yeah, this guy was running for the Oscars before. It's genuinely a good performance. And then, of course, Cillian Murphy. I have seen plenty of Nolan movies, but I haven't seen outside of the ones Cillian Murphy is in. The Nolan movies Cillian Murphy is in. I haven't seen Cillian Murphy in a lot of stuff. So again, it's another great performance, and it helps. He's like kind of lost some more weight. He looks very different than like the clear image I have of him like in the Dark Knight trilogy. So you got like everyone just sort of blends into their performances well. People you wouldn't expect to see in these dramatic movies like Josh Peck do very good jobs. It's just a nice kind of, like, I guess I just kind of like when people get a chance to spread their wings. I guess just have a lot more fun, just do more variety in roles, and I think that's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's just, again, I didn't do Barbienheimer, so I didn't have the weird tonal whiplash of depressing movie, happy movie, but it's a lot going on in the movie. I think the thing that I had the hardest time figuring out is why all the scenes with Robert Downey Jr.'s character were all in black and white. I know that Nolan's done that before, specifically in Memento, when all the scenes that were going in actual chronological order were in black and white, and I sort of thought that's what he was doing here, but it wasn't that. The movie jumps around a bit, even with the black and white scenes. And one thing I gotta say, one thing I really liked about Memento, and I think it's done really well here, despite the fact that the movie goes back and forth, chronologically across the different time periods in the timeline. One thing I really like is Christopher Nolan still somehow makes it seem like a traditional 3-act structure for a movie. There's very clearly a climax and an ending to this movie, despite the fact that the ending happens a little bit earlier in the timeline compared to some other stuff. So, yeah, again, it's just a really well-made movie. It's definitely probably going to be nominated for a lot of Oscars. It might win special effects for the atomic bomb. It might win best supporting actor and actor. It's just a really good movie. It's very complicated. It helps that maybe it would have helped more if I knew about Oppenheimer a bit more, but it's a great kind of, probably the best things historical movies should be doing is it's a good introduction to this kind of topic, and it's a very fascinating. The story of the atomic bomb is fascinating and frightening, and this movie kind of leaves off on a note that's it's the ambiguity of should we have made it? If we didn't make it, would someone else make it? It's really good stuff. So if you're a big film buff, if you're big into seeing movies that aren't the traditional blockbuster, this is absolutely a must-see movie. Now on to an animated blockbuster, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. I also really like this movie. Clearly, it's not as avant-garde as Oppenheimer, but I still had a lot of fun. This is probably more so a family film, even more so than like something like Spider-Verse. There's a bit more swearing in this movie than I expected. So if for the parents that aren't my parents watching this, they were like, "Should I watch TMNT?" If you're put off by showing your son a movie that says like ass, damn, and piss, that'll probably be a turnoff for you. But no, generally, I think it's a good movie. All right, so now we get into the part of the Ninja Turtle review where it's more geek stuff, guys. I'm going to be talking about geek stuff. So it's a very different interpretation of the TMNT. It focuses more so on the fact that they're mutants rather than their storied history as ninjas and like how they're connected with the Foot and the Shredder. The Shredder is not in this movie, which is a nice change of pace. I feel like the last time we haven't had the Shredder or the Foot Clan in a TMNT movie was Ninja Turtles 3 all the way back in the 90s. So again, it's an origin story for the TMNT. So we do have the standard like how they ended up in the ooze, how they mutated, how they learned martial arts, and how they end up meeting April and forming a bond with her. But it's focusing more so on its on like how on the mutants. This story is more so about like all the mutant characters. They throw a lot more mutant characters in this movie than any of the Ninja Turtle movies, really. We get Bebop and Rocksteady, of course. We get Superfly, not Baxter Stockman as a fly, but Baxter Stockman is in the movie, voiced by Giancarlo Esposito. And I know that is a joke I kind of done in the past, making fun of fan cast as Giancarlo Esposito, but damn it, Giancarlo Esposito is actually a good choice as Baxter Stockman, so I can't blame the movie for that. And we get even obscure characters like Mondo Gecko. We get Wingnut. I can't even remember some of these people's. Leatherhead, of course. Leatherhead's in the movie. And this is another movie like this. Another animated movie where it's like it's got a celebrity cast, of course, but it's one of those movies that really where the celebrities tried to hide their voices, do character voices a bit more. I couldn't even tell John Cena was Rocksteady. I sort of knew that it was Seth Rogen as Bebop. But it helped more so in this movie than in the Mario movie because Seth Rogen didn't immediately do his laugh and take me out of the movie entirely. I mean, Jackie Chan is Splinter, so that it's kind of obvious Jackie Chan's voicing him. But yeah, everyone else, Paul Rudd was Mondo Gecko, and I didn't even know that. That was fun. And we got some relative newcomers. All the TMNT, all the Ninja Turtles are actually voiced by actual teenagers. Donnie especially sounds the youngest, and everyone really does a good job voice acting in the movie. In terms of more plot, when I keep mentioning that they focus more on the mutant stuff, they really do. They kind of focus on the fact that the turtles are kind of outcasts. They want to be accepted by everyone else, but it's kind of weird because they're mutant turtle people. And like Splinter was like, well, one time I did go to the circus and everyone freaked out when they saw me because I'm a giant rat man. So we got it, but April's kind of like the gateway of like, yeah, it's weird that you're mutant people, but you're nice. So like, so they kind of connect on that level, and the movie has kind of like, it does have an emotional climax of where like during the final action scene, humans do eventually accept the Ninja Turtles. I'm sorry I'm getting into spoilers, but it's a Ninja Turtles movie. You don't get unless something unless I tell you guys, you're not. This is a movie that's gonna blow your mind about anything. But again, it has a nice emotional climax where like the people of New York finally see like, oh no, they are trying to help us. They aren't the bad guys here. So even though I feel like they kind of convinced New York a bit too easily, there is kind of a nice emotion again, a nice emotional climax where like the turtles do get accepted into society once they prove like no, we're not the good guys. Even I mean, no, we're not the bad guys. Even they aren't the bad guys. We're just different. So there's it's not as like crazy like deep as even like Spider-Verse gets, but it's a nice emotional through line throughout the movie, and it gives the movie a bit more heart than you'd expect it to, than most animated movies kind of have these days. I keep bringing up Spider-Verse, but I kind of have to because even the director admitted that stylistically the movie was inspired by Spider-Verse. Now, it's not as... Now, Spider-Verse did have kind of like a sketchpad styling to it. Even though there were like differences, like Spider-Punk had like this paper cutout look, and like the Renaissance era Vulture looks like Renaissance sketch art. There was sort of a more clean look to it. This one feels like, I don't know if I'd even want to say like it is like street art kind of aesthetic, because like sometimes when you see explosions, it looks like crayon drawings on the outlines of stuff falling out. It's a very messy art style. And I feel like that actually helps the movie, because there's this weird contrast of like, yeah, the Ninja Turtles and the rest of the mutants are supposed to be the freaks, but really they have like more like more natural like proportions. Even though there are stylized characters, they have more like natural round proportions, as opposed to the human characters who have like these weird like weird incomplete jaw lines, or like weirdly stretched out necks. It makes you wonder, man, who are the weird real freaks here? But I guess I'm at least guessing that was the interpretation, because even April, it doesn't have that weird of a design in comparison to everything else, but she's like the gateway to the human world, like between the human world and the mutant world. So I guess that's like, oh, she's accepting of people, so she's not the freak. My roommate Grant leaned over to me and was like, why does Raphael have the full head mask? And I just said, I guess they're like, since Rise of the TMNT, they're really, even before then, like during the 2003 show where all the turtles had different colors, and the 2012 show they all had much different proportions, they really have been trying to make the turtles stand out against each other visually outside of their masks and their weapons, and I think this movie does a very good job. They're all turtle people and they all look like brothers, but they all have like very different outlines. Just like in Rise of the TMNT, Rap's the big one and he has a full head mask. Donnie has glasses. It's not as over-designed as the Michael Bay produced movies, but he makes the glasses work in this movie. Michelangelo has a kind of a wider head. I think at one point someone even compares him to Hey Arnold. So, again, this movie just is very interesting visually. Again, it's the rough, but still kind of like intentionally thought out art style. It's really nice to look at. Even if the movie is not like the strongest plot wise, I'd say like the first 2 minutes were kind of more tell and don't show. Like Baxter Stockman basically talks to this bug about why humans are mean to him, which is weird, but once you get past those first 2 minutes and like this scene where Splinter just kind of explains the Turtles' origin story to themselves, the movie has much more natural dialogue than you'd think. I do get kind of sick of pop culture references constantly, but you get it. Teenagers are obsessed with pop culture. It's stupid, and it happens in real life, so you get used to it. So the little nitpicks and problems I have with this movie. This movie does the thing I absolutely hate when they do. I sort of get why they do it because it makes sense character wise, and but it's always weird when they do it, and it always goes nowhere. One of the turtles has a crush on April. In this movie, it is Leonardo as opposed to Donatello in the 2012 show. I get it. They're teenagers, and she's the first girl they've ever really met. But it's always super weird, man. And you know they're never going to go through with it because they will get so much shit for it. But it happens anyway. That really irks me. What else? Because of how big the cast is, some characters get more time to be fleshed out than others. Like all Bebop and Rocksteady sort of have like this, like they kind of they kind of say the same thing at the same time. It's like, oh, they're so in sync, and then like Mondo Gecko immediately bonds with Mikey because they're so cool. But the turtles themselves, Raphael, they do an interesting idea for his rage issues that like he's been taught martial arts for so long and yet has never had the opportunity to do it, and he's just kind of dying for the chance to get in a fight. And that's a fun idea for why he's kind of so angry all the time, but that sort of gets died down due to the whole trying to save New York plot line. Donatello isn't as much of the smart guy. He's a dork, he's a nerd, he's obsessed with anime and stuff like that, but he's not like constantly making gadgets. Maybe if this movie gets a sequel, we'll get to see more of that. But and really, like, Raph, Donnie, and Mikey are all equally party dudes to each other, so we don't have that as clear of a distinction between the four of them as other cartoons do, but I guess to balance that out, there's a bit more unity with them. They definitely feel like brothers. They definitely feel like they get on each other's nerves, but also love each other constantly. That's fun. That's the best way to say it. This movie's fun. It's a good animated movie. It looks different than most animated movies. It looks different than a bit different than Spider-Verse, even though it's clearly visually based off of it. It's got good action. It's not afraid to let the turtles use their weapons. They don't kill anyone, unlike the comic books, but they definitely use their weapons. Not as much as maybe the Michael Bay movies, but they definitely get some usage out of it. There's one good action scene where it's like 4 different scenes playing simultaneously, and we cut back and forth between them, and that's really cool. What else? Yeah, it's just a good movie. The voice performances were really good. The characterizations, even though it's not as strong as other interpretations, in my opinion, everyone bounces off of each other well, and it's good dialogue for the most part, and it's a good new start for Ninja Turtles. I hope this movie does well. I hear it's not doing the best right now, but then again, like, Barbie and Oppenheimer, I guess, sucked the life out of everything else, and right now, I guess, like, comic book based properties are kind of maybe going down the drain, maybe in terms of popularity. But yeah, I definitely hope more people see it because this was fun. I always like the TMNT. I have like the Ninja Turtles collection for the Switch that collects all the classic original games. I have a reprint of the original Mirage Studios miniseries, and I watched plenty of the cartoons, and so of course, always like the TMNT in this movie doesn't disappoint. Is It's fun. I regret not buying pizza before seeing the movie, but it's it's fun. It's just fun. You have a good time watching it. If it doesn't stick with you after you see it, you still won't really regret seeing it. I feel like kind of a weird endorsement, but again, it's a good movie. Both of these are very good movies. Both of them. I don't know if TMNT will be nominated for Best Animated Picture. It probably won't, because the Oscars are weird, but Oppenheimer is definitely going to be nominated for Best Picture. Just movies are good. There are good movies out right now. Stop freaking out, everyone. Go have fun in the movies. Whether you're at home or going to a big theater or going to a small theater, just see movies. See a lot of different movies. Just have fun. We need fun right now. So, I guess that's it. It's not as focused as... This video's been more focused than my Indiana Jones one, of course. But it's not as good as my Mario review. In my opinion, at least. Let me know what you guys think down below. Tell me if you even watch my videos. I definitely need a beard trim. I'm going to do that first chance I get. Thank you.